You know that moment when you clone someone's repo, try to install requirements.txt, and suddenly nothing works. Wrong versions, missing dependencies, virtual environment chaos. It's like walking into a minefield. I used to live in that world until I met Poetry. Today I'll show you why I think Poetry is the tool every Python developer should have in their stack, and how it can help you build, manage and ship Python projects with way less pain. Let's start with the basics. Yes, you can totally get by with pip and virtual env, but the second you start juggling multiple projects, log files, version constraints, dev dependencies and maybe even publishing to Pypi, it turns into duct tape and prayers. Poetry allows you to replace all of it with a single tool, no juggling. It manages dependencies, virtual environments, packaging and publishing, all through a clean CLI and a single config file, pyproject.toml. To set it up, there are just a few simple steps you need to accomplish. First, install Poetry with this command. As it's now installed, we need to include it to our project. If it's a new one, we can just run Poetry new and the name of your project. It will create a neat structure with everything you need in place. But if you are migrating from old-fashioned requirements.txt, you can run Poetry init to add Poetry to your project. At this point, you can say bye-bye to your manually created environment and requirements file. We will be focusing on our newly created pyproject.toml. The main thing I really like is how Poetry handles dependency resolution. Like when you run Poetry add requests, and it actually checks what fits your existing setup. And if there is a conflict, it tells you clearly. None of that vague red error dump. Let's see it in action. I'll install a few outdated packages there and try to enforce a version conflict. Here's how it's done, and error message is clear and descriptive. And you get to keep your main and dev dependencies totally separate, so stuff like pytest, black or numpy don't leak into production. It's done really efficiently with Poetry, just by specifying a group flag when you want to add some package to the dev-only environment. Whenever you need to get rid of something, it's incredibly simple with just Poetry remove and the package name you want to be removed. Before we move forward with installing packages and checking virtual environment, we should add one more line into project.toml to notify Poetry that we are using it not for package publishing, but for dependencies management. To do that, we just need to add package mode equals false under tool Poetry section. If you are interested about how to create a Pypi package, please check a link for it in the description. Also, Poetry gives you Poetry log file, kind of package log.json if you worked with Node. And that means when you run Poetry install, it installs exactly the same dependency tree every time, whether it's on your laptop, in Docker or on CI. So no more "well, it works on my machine" kind of statements. It works everywhere or it doesn't work at all, and honestly, that's the kind of consistency I want. Here is another one. You don't have to manually mess the virtual env or source anything. Poetry creates a clean, isolated environment for each project and just manages it in the background by automatically installing packages in the env. And to activate it, you can just run Poetry and activate. When you need to debug what's going on, just run Poetry env info. It tells you exactly where everything is. It just works like virtual envs, but without the food guns. In the IT world, you would work in a team, and to sync up the dependencies, there is command for you, Poetry sync. It will update your env with all new packages from Poetry log. When you want to have your package updatable, you can remove a restriction of the specified version. And after that, run Poetry update. As you can see, this package was successfully updated. Or you can specify a range of available versions, like this. It will keep it on major version, like second in this example, and you will be able to update it from 2.22 up to third version, not included. And the last one is restricted installation, as Poetry automatically installs dependencies from all groups. To restrict it on the CI build, you can add a flag to Poetry install, only root. It will install only main dependencies. And as you can see here, the black dependency from dev is not installed. And it also works in another way. If you want to only install dev dependencies, you can specify Poetry install only dev. So yeah, if you are still managing requirements.txt by hand, or constantly fighting pip versions hell, or you have duct taped together a release pipeline, just give Poetry a shot. It's not just nice to have, it completely changes how you think about building and shipping Python projects. And once you get used to it, honestly, you wouldn't wanna go back. Thanks for watching, and if you're already using Poetry, drop a comment below and tell me what you think about it.